Hello everyone and welcome to another mini sky tonight. I know I've had a couple people ask me what can they see in the early morning sky because sometimes they have to get up early in the morning to go walk their dog, or they're getting their kids up to get ready for school, or they themselves want to step outside to get a breath of fresh air before they have to go inside again to do some work. So I decided to show you some of the things you can see up in the early morning sky before you have to start your busy day. So over here towards the west, you'll see the bright object, the moon. It's getting close to a full phase, so you'll get to see the great view of the moon in the early morning sky in the western sky. So let's take a look at a few constellations that you can see. So let's bring up the constellation lines. So directly south, you'll see this J-shaped constellation. It's the constellation Scorpius, the scorpion, but it has gone by other names as well. For example, the Polynesians called this constellation Maui's fishhook. So for you Disney fans out there that love the movie Moana, they talk about this constellation, and it is a real constellation in the sky. The brightest star in the constellation Scorpius lies right here, and it's called Antares. I like to refer to it as not Mars because it has a similar color to Mars. It's a huge supergiant star that's said to explode any time now between now and the next few million years, give or take. So keep your eye on it. So right next to the constellation Scorpius is, I like to call the teapot constellation, because it, like, here's the lid and here's the handle and here's the spout. It's the constellation Sagittarius, the half man, half horse. But again, I don't see a half man, half horse out of that, so I call it the teapot. But over to the left of Sagittarius, you see these three stars in a row. These are actually planets. You can see 3 planets. Actually, you can see 4. One of them is close to the horizon during the early morning sky, just right before sunrise. So let's figure out what these 4 planets are. The one farthest towards the south is the planet Jupiter. The next one next to it is the planet Saturn. And the next one next to it, the orange color, is beautiful Mars. And of course, right close to the sun is the planet Mercury. So in the early morning sky, you can see 4 planets. So if you wanted to find something to do on the early morning sky, pull out a telescope or a pair of binoculars and check out these 4 planets before the sun rises. So what else can we see in the early morning sky? How about right up above here? These 3 bright stars that'll be directly above you represent what is known as the summer triangle, or the navigator's triangle, whichever you prefer. The top star right here is called Vega, and it's a part of the constellation Lyra, the lyre. L-Y-R-E, not L-I-A-R. It's a harp. But hidden within the constellation of Lyra, the harp is a really unique object. In fact, if you have a pair of binoculars or a small telescope, zoom in on this area and you get to see a beautiful sight. Let's take a closer look at it now. There it is. Ah! I forgot I still have the sky moving. So here within this beautiful picture, you see what is called a planetary nebula. It's basically the stellar tomb of an old star. And it's similar to what will happen to our sun when it passes away. What's going on in our sun is a process called nuclear fusion, where lighter elements are rammed together to create heavier elements, and as well as light, heat, and energy. But eventually it's going to run out of those elements. And when it does, it'll try to fuse heavier elements and heavier elements. But for a star like our sun, it won't fuse much more heavier elements. I think it will probably stop to roughly about nitrogen or oxygen. And when it does, it'll collapse down its core to try to conserve energy. And when it collapses down its core, it will puff out its outer layers and just leave a small little white dwarf star in the center of the outer shell. And that's what you kind of can see right here. This tiny little white star is the core remnant of the star that once was. And this is the outer shell, kind of creating like a cosmic ash ball around the beautiful star. All right, so let's look south. Oh, and one other feature I forgot to point out too is that you can zoom in on the planets as well. In fact, let's take a look at the planets. So yeah, you can even zoom in on the planets, which is really neat. So you can get an up close and personal view of the planets as well. These 4 stars supposedly are actually not stars, they're moons. They're what are known as the Galilean moons because they were first discovered by Galileo Galilei. They are respectively Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. The one that astronomers are really interested in is the one called Europa because it's a huge ice ball. And astronomers believe that underneath the surface of that ice, there may be a liquid ocean. So astronomers are really interested on that moon. All right. Nonetheless, this is some of the things you can see up in the early morning sky if you decide to take a step out and take a nice breath fresh of air before you have to get into work. Again, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions, as well as if there's a topic you would like to have discussed, let me know and I'll be happy to cover over it. With that, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, never stop learning. Have an awesome night, folks.